Good morning, dear listeners. Welcome back to the podcast series of the Seven Laws of Reality and New Age Ontology. Today we continue on the topic of the principle of gender, and we already introduced this topic in the previous podcast. And today we specifically introduced the principle of the mental gender. So, to reiterate, even though the timeless mind, which is the first principle, the all is mind itself, is beyond any gender, the Hermetic teachings say and explain that mind's offspring in the form of consciousness operates to the principle of gender. So according to this principle, the mind's potentiality of manifestation within consciousness operates on the basis of a masculine aspect, which for convenience we can call the I, and the feminine aspect, which for convenience we can call the me, operating in unison, so together. According to this principle, the feminine me is the part of consciousness in which thoughts, ideas, emotions, feelings, desires, and intuitions may be produced, and it can be considered as the mental womb capable of generating a mental offspring. This feminine part of consciousness brings with a realization of an enormous capacity for mental work and creative ability. But even though its powers for creative energy are quite enormous, it seems that it must receive some form of direction from either its own masculine I companion or else from some other external mental masculine I to produce its mental creation. So the masculine I, on the other hand, is able to wield the feminine me aspect, giving in a kind of direction and purpose, and it is also able to stand aside and witness the mental creation. So it can do both. So in the best case, it will the creation, or you can just witness them. But these two aspects could also be called the feminine emotive pole, manifesting desire, feelings, emotions, and intuitions, and the masculine motive pole, manifesting willpower in order to move, concentrate, restrain, control, and act. So the tendency of the mental feminine principle is always in the direction of receiving impressions, while the tendency of the masculine principle is always in the direction of giving them out. In general, the feminine principle is also responsible for the work of generating new thoughts, concepts, ideas, including the work of imagination, intuition, and the masculine principle contents itself with the work of willing and directing. And yet, without the active help of the masculine principle, the feminine principle can become content with generating mental images, which are sometimes the result of impressions received from the will of other minds, instead of producing original mental creations. So we cannot overstress that both male and female sentient beings operate through both mental genders at the same time, and neither of them can function without the other counterpart. So basically we're just describing aspects. So the aspect of the masculine and the aspect of the feminine, which are just aspects of consciousness, they're not different parts. So the feminine is found in the work in active mental generations, and the masculine in the form of willing, stimulating, directing the creative portions of the mind. So in any case, the normal mode of operation for both the masculine and feminine mental principles or aspects of consciousness is to coordinate and act harmoniously in unison. But unfortunately, sometimes the masculine mental principle becomes too lazy, and the consequence is that one can become easily ruled or hypnotized by the minds and wills of other sentient beings. And in this case, we accept thoughts and ideas instilled into the me from the I of others. So in general, this is when great masses of people follow the will of usually of one sentient being. And the reason this is because the mental influence and suggestion operates along the lines of the feminine desire force and the masculine willpower, and they're usually employed in combination. And some sentient beings are able to generate one of them in a greater fashion. Okay, then in the next podcast we may speak a little bit more about the phenomenon of mental suggestions. So this is all for now, and the links to my books, where you can find much more information about these topics, are in the comment. Thank you for listening.